The trophy case behind the center field wall at Carolina Stadium may be empty now, but in just a few days it will hold the relics of back-to-back national titles, and the Gamecocks hope to add to their collection in 2014. Hello everyone and welcome into this special edition of Capital City Sports. I'm Pat Cloney. Baseball fans have long awaited this week. Opening day is almost here. Friday, 3 p.m. against Bucknell at Carolina Stadium, where USC hopes to begin its quest for a third national championship. Last year, the Gamecocks were bounced in the Super Regional at Chapel Hill, but they bring back a strong number of key players from last year's squad, and the chance for another trip to Omaha looks bright. We will take a look at some of those key players and more on this special edition of Capital City Sports Baseball Preview. First up, a look at the men on the mound. For our first look at this year's pitching staff, we send it to Austin Lewis.
Thanks, Pat. Now let's talk about the pitching rotation. On Friday night is going to be Mr. Reliable Jordan Montgomery, who has kind of been the heir apparent to Michael Roth's legacy at South Carolina. He is the most consistent pitcher on staff. He is the guy who you could put up against any Friday night guy in the country, and you could honestly take Jordan Montgomery 10 out of 10 times. He's going to be one of the best pitchers in the country, probably an All-American, most certainly All-SEC. He might not have the stuff a guy like Tyler Beatty has from Vanderbilt, who's going to be a first-round pick, but he uses his breaking pitches really well, has a good three-pitch mix of his fastball, changeup, and breaking ball. His changeup is extraordinary. He is just one of the best pitchers we've had this decade at South Carolina, and is going to be probably a star for this team. And on Saturdays is going to be Jack Wynkoop, who is another really good control pitcher. Came on as a freshman last year as a Sunday starter. Makes his pitches and pitches well around the strike zone. Pitches to contact, gets ground balls. Not really a flashy pitcher. Not going to blow you away with fastball. In the same vein as Jordan Montgomery, he's going to pitch around the strike zone and he's going to just get outs. That's what he does. Uses his changeup really well. He's not going to get a whole ton of strikeouts. He's not going to have the dynamite like huge breaking pitch, which is going to fool a ton of hitters. He's just going to pitch, just control the hitter's movement and control the hitter's eyes, and use movement in his pitches to get outs. And kind of in the opposite direction is Will Crow, who is a freshman and turned down over $1 million signing bonus to come to South Carolina. He has taken the Sunday starter by the reins and will be a true freshman starting on Sundays. He is a guy with a 90-mile-an-hour plus fastball, really good breaking ball, and in recent practice reports, they said his changeup has gotten really good, so he has an actual three-pitch mix which can fool hitters, along with a really big-time fastball, which will light up the radar guns and light up fans' eyes when they watch him pitch. So he looks to be a real star for the future. And it's going to be a pretty awesome starting rotation. You wouldn't really take many starting rotations over South Carolina's. The relief pitching this year is going to be a bit of an enigma. We have experienced guys such as Vince Fiore, Kurt Britt, and Evan Beal. Evan Beal is one of those really interesting players who tore it up in the Cape Cod League this year, but hasn't really found his role in the pitching rotation or in the bullpen this year. Maybe he finally finds his role this year as a big-time reliever. Maybe Vince Fiore has some really good innings off. You expect him to be a consistent arm out of the bullpen. He pitched some experienced innings last year, pitched a lot last year, pitched in the postseason. Kurt Britt, expecting him to get some innings. He pitched sometimes as a midweek starter last year, expect him to get some innings out of the bullpen. You have impact freshmen such as Taylor Widener and Matt Vogel, guys who can really run it up there with their fastballs. Matt Vogel especially, he's a mid-90s guy. If he gets his control down, he can be a really big arm out of the bullpen for us. Taylor Widener's a guy who really impressed as a two-way player in fall practice. He's a guy who has a really good arm and can play some in the field as well. Maybe play some DH and get some time at the plate. One of the really interesting arms out of the bullpen is Kyle Martin, who's going to be starting first baseman this year. and he got some innings, and so we might see him as an experienced left-handed arm out of the bullpen. And moving on to the closer, it's going to be Joel Seddon this year. Joel Seddon's a guy who kind of bounced around, was a midweek starter a little bit, thought he was going to be a starter at South Carolina, but now he's the closer. He's just a guy who gets outs. That's what Holbrook said. He's just a guy who just knows how to get outs. He'll pitch the 8th, 9th inning for the Gamecocks. He can pitch for a while. He's a guy who's got good fastball, good breaking ball, good changeup. He's a guy who just knows how to close games out. He said there wasn't really much. He said he knows about the pressure. Joel Seddon spoke at the press conference today. He said he knows there's pressure about being a closer, but he's not afraid of it. He is the closer following he's got a lot to live up to, following Tyler Webb and then Matt Price before him, to follow two of the best closers in South Carolina history. There's a lot riding on Joel Seddon this year. So hopefully Joel Seddon lives up to the expectations and the precedent set by Tyler Webb and Matt Price. That does it all for the pitching rotation. Let's send it back to Pat.
Thank you, Austin. And we're back here on the Horseshoe, and I'm joined by our resident baseball expert, Zach Brown. Zach, it's good to have you back again.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Zach, as we know, the Gamecocks are going to miss a few key offensive weapons from the lineup of last year. Who are those players?
Well, you've got to start off with L.B. Dantzler, the power lefty. The guy could hit the ball anywhere on the diamond. He was an unbelievable force for the Gamecocks in the meat of the lineup. He had incredible power at the plate, and he was a leader as well. Some of you may remember he was a JUCO transfer, and so we didn't get to see a whole lot of him on the diamond for the Gamecocks. But in his time in the Garnet and Black, we did notice some firepower. We're not going to have him this year, and so it might be a presence that's missed, but I think we can fill the void pretty well with some other players that are stepping up to the plate this year. Another player, Chase Ferguson, who platooned around the infield and finally got some solid starting time at third base last year. His offensive firepower at the plate was something that we weren't expecting to see, but he turned out to be one of the more senior guys. Being that he had been in those key situations before, Pat, he had been in the pressure situations, he knew how to handle it, and so he was relaxed at the plate, and that translated into some incredible plate appearances for him, and he helped the Gamecocks out in the lineup. Graham Psycho also, for unfortunate reasons, is no longer with the team, and I was looking forward to seeing him play again this year, but unfortunately, like I said, we won't get the opportunity to see that, and so Graham Psycho will be another hole that needs to be filled.
Now, having discussed these losses, there are a few returning players on the Gamecock lineup that could really, fill in those holes and add some even more firepower to the lineup this year. Zach, give me a couple of your top players that the Gamecocks should look for this year.
Well, I'll give you number 1 and 2. I think that Joey Pancake and Grayson Griner are the two players to really watch out for. I'm not going to put them in any particular order because they both have their strengths and weaknesses, and really I think they're pretty even keel at the plate. But those are my top 2 as far as who really needs to have dynamite performances this year for the Gamecocks.
Now, both Griner and Pancake were named preseason All-Americans by Baseball America. Zach, why don't we just go for it? You have 2 players already. Let's round it out and make it a top 5 Gamecocks to look out for that could really have breakout performances and fuel the fire to those lineup positions that are missing this year.
Well, Pat, as you mentioned, Griner and Pancake were the only 2 All-Americans on the team this year. That's why I put them in a class of their own. However, there are 3 more players that I expect to have big performances for the Gamecocks at the plate this year who will help us get back to Omaha. Number 1, Tanner English, the center fielder, Lightning McQuick. If he can get on the bases, he would be a terror for opposing catchers and teams to defend against. I saw him a little bit in the offseason, training, practicing, getting better, and my gosh, is he fast. If he can just learn how to be consistent at the plate, he'll be an unbelievable force for the Gamecocks, not only at the plate, but on the base paths. Second, Kyle Martin. Like I said, L.B. Dantzler's gone. Someone's going to have to fill that void. I think Kyle Martin is up to the challenge. He had one of the smoothest swings in the offseason of any of the team, and I think he can really make some strides this season with some regularity playing time. Now, in addition to those 2, Max Schrock, the freshman phenom from last year, returns for his sophomore season. The Chapel Hill native looks to have a big season for the Gamecocks. It was kind of weird seeing Max Schrock play against his hometown Chapel Hill Tar Heels in the Super Regionals last year. I think that might have messed with him a little bit because the stage was huge. But I think Schrock will have a huge season for the Gamecocks this year. He's got an incredible swing. He's getting bigger. He's getting more experienced. He knows what to expect this time around. So I think he can be a force for the Gamecocks this year at the plate.
Now, I want you to go back for a second. You gave reasons for your bottom 3 of the top 5, why they could be even better than they were last year. Everyone knows that Joey Pancake and Grayson Griner are stellar players. Preseason All-Americans, everyone knows that they have talent. But what do you think is the reason that they could have even better seasons this year?
Well, Pat, I think the secret to the improvement behind each player's game lies in their lack of skill in certain areas last year. Joey Pancake is an incredible player. He's one of the best we've ever seen in Garnet and Black, and we're looking for him to do great things for the Gamecocks this season. However, he was known to be a little bit inconsistent at the plate at times last season, and I think the primary reason for that is because he knew that he was relied upon to be one of the best hitters in the lineup, and so he tried to do everything with one swing. Most times he got up to the plate. I think he's maturing and realizing that there are 9 players in the lineup. Every one of them can do something great when they step up to the plate, and it's his job not to hit the ball out of the park every time he's up there, but just to get on base and to move runners around and do something to impact the outcome of the game. I think he's going to do that this year. I think he'll be an excellent gap-to-gap hitter. He's also gotten bigger than he was last year. He's got more power, and so naturally the gap-to-gap will turn him into a power hitter, and we'll see some home runs from Pancake this season. Now, Griner, on the other hand, had the gap-to-gap power, but it was not balanced the way it should have been. Griner had very little opposite field talent last season. Most of the hits he got to the opposite field, being from center field over to the corner in right field, were either weak dribblers to the infield or pop-ups that were just easy outs. And as a baseball player, you have to be able to spray the ball all over the diamond because we're in Division I baseball. The pitchers are going to try to get you to do exactly what he did. I think he has started to focus really strongly on his opposite field hitting. I think he'll realize more how to go opposite field, how to go to the gap in right center, as well as he did to left center in past seasons. I think also he's maturing a little bit, just like I said with Joey Pancake. He was a little bit anxious at times last season at the plate. We saw a lot of bad swings from him early in the count, a lot of first pitch pitches that were in the dirt, outside of the strike zone, and he would go after them just because he knew he was good, he knew what he could do with the ball, but he tried to do it on something that wasn't his pitch. This year, I think he's going to look for more pitches in his wheelhouse. He's going to get those pitches because he's huge, and he's going to put it gap to gap, left center to right center, and work on the opposite field hitting like I mentioned, and both players, I think, will have incredible seasons for the Gamecocks.
All right, Zach, I'm going to challenge you a little bit this time. You've mentioned some players that most Gamecock fans can read about in newspaper headlines. But now I want you to give me a couple dark horse candidates, players that no one's really ever heard of that can really have breakout performances this year and help the Gamecock offense.
Well, Pat, I make predictions in sports every day, and 90% of the time I'm wrong. But I'm going to try to be bold right now, and I'm going to tell you 3 players that I think Gamecock fans should look for this season. Number 1, Connor Bright. Gamecock fans already know a little bit about Bright because he did play last year, but he platooned with TJ Costin, who recently transferred to USC Aiken to play this year. I think Bright, since he's no longer platooning in right field, will have more regularity as a starter, and by a product of that, will end up being more consistent at the plate. He'll have more swings, more time to relax and realize that he knows what he's doing. He'll have some more smooth swings, better performance for offensive production. Number 2, Marcus Mooney. Gamecock fans recognize that last name as Marcus's older brother played for the Gamecocks in years past. It has been said, Pat, that Mooney plays like his brother. Now, if that can translate into truth on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, I think that will be great for Gamecocks, not only this year, but in years to come, because Mooney is a freshman. And number 3, Gamecock fans, as I'm sure you realize, have seen kind of a trend in recent years in junior college transfers. Started with LB Dantzler, Reptar's father. He was incredible, as we've mentioned already. Also, Graham Psycho was a dynamite player for the Gamecocks last season. I think the trend continues this year with Spartanburg Methodist transfer Elliot Caldwell. It has been said that he has a huge bat at the plate, and if he can become a threat for the Gamecocks, I think he'll be another one of the players that could have a huge production this season for the Gamecocks in the Garnet and Black, help us get back to Omaha.
your perfect in-depth analysis of the Gamecock baseball lineup for opening day. Zach, thank you so much for being with us today. As always, the man, the myth, the legend, Zachary Brown, ladies and gentlemen. That'll do it for us here on the shoe. We're going to take it over to the T-Coop Fountain, where Haley Anders and Katie Davis are there to tell you what they saw this weekend at the last Gamecock scrimmages before opening day.
Thanks, guys. We saw a lot of great things today at the scrimmage. We saw some great things, some struggles, got to work through some things preseason, but left field still up in the air. We saw Elliot Caldwell. We saw the freshman Madden. We also have heard about the conversation of Joey Pancake also playing a little bit of left field. So we got some versatility in left field. Still don't know who the opening day starter is going to be, the regular starter. We saw a little bit of sloppiness coming out of left field, some missed targets, some overthrown cuts. So got to work that left field out, but versatile and who's going to play there.
Absolutely, and versatility is the theme for this team. At least in the preseason, you have the shortstop position, the third base position, Marcus Mooney, and the freshman Jordan Gore. I mean, this guy, he was phenomenal today. These parts are interchangeable, along with first base. You're three deep. You have Kyle Martin, the intended starter, also Pike, the freshman, Taylor Widener. So you never know what could happen. It is the preseason.
Also thrown into that infield mix, the versatility in the infield, you have DC Arendis, who can also play shortstop. I think that I would personally start Jordan Gore. Like you said, had a phenomenal day, had a shot to right field. He had a little freshman mistake at short in the infield, missed a little slow roller, but hey, he's a rookie. You know, he can fix that up before the season starts. But I would start Jordan Gore over DC Arendis. DC Arendis, I feel like he's not in his prime yet. Maybe after the season starts, he'll pick it up. But I would start Marcus Mooney at second and start Jordan Gore at shortstop. So, I mean, like you said, versatility is key in the infield. Also, Kyle Martin in the infield. He struggled a little bit today. Didn't have a great day at the plate. He was a little behind the ball, rolled over, had a pop-up. So, I mean, we still, like I said, still a little bit less than a week away from the season. So maybe once the season starts, he'll pick it up.
Absolutely, and it's technical things. It's the little things we have all season. Kyle Martin has some seriously large shoes to fill, though. You remember L.B. Danzler last year, the power hitter, the extremely talented first baseman, Reptar's father as well. So he's got the coaching, he's got the skills. It's just the little things, and I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, he can pick it up and be ready. But speaking of players that are ready, Joey Pancake had a great day. Had a shot to left, a shot to right. I think he was all over the place hitting. He had a great day at the plate. He looked ready in the field. He was quick. And also Tanner English, the kid was speedy.
He is so fast, and we knew that before. Looking forward to seeing him in center field. He's quick. He's great at the bat. His swing is quick, just like his stride. Yeah, and pitching was a little shaky today. We saw a lot of freshmen. We saw Josh Reagan. We saw him pitch against Kyle Martin. He did okay. Kyle Martin was struggling, so I think that helped the freshman pitcher a little bit. But pitching overall was a little bit shaky, but I feel like once they get into their rotation, the pitchers will settle in. Hopefully, I think Jordan Montgomery, Friday night starter, then possibly Jack Winecoop Saturday. So we'll see how that goes. But pitching will settle in. It'll all come. Absolutely. We're excited for baseball season. For Katie Davis, I'm Haley Anders. This is Capital City Sports.
Thanks, ladies. And as always, we hope you enjoyed the game. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Capital City Sports. We thank you for watching our baseball preview. If you want to watch this episode again or want to check out any of our highlights from last year, you can log online to sgtv.sc.edu and make sure to follow us on Twitter at CCSOnSGTV. For all of us here at Capital City Sports, I'm Pat Cloney. Let's play ball.